It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Good morning and welcome to a special edition of Travel and Cruise Industry News podcast on this, the 20th day of November, 2022, coming to you from Bedford County, Virginia, Central Virginia area. Very chilly morning here. The reason for a special edition podcast is some of the news stories that have broken this weekend, other than the weather in Buffalo and places like that. The lead story today is a cruise ship damaged, injuries reported in a storm. Carnival celebration arrived in Miami actually a little early this morning. Third and fourth Prima class ships have been delayed, and MSC drops all the protocols just in time for me to get on board. That and much more here this morning on a special edition of Travel and Cruise Industry News. If you did hop on live this morning, I'll get over and say hello to you. I realize there's not going to be a whole lot of live audience when I do something like this without any expectations. If you are listening via the podcast, of course, welcome aboard. You can access the podcast via my blog, which is accessadventure.net, or wherever you get your podcasts from, like all the big guys, Stitcher, Pandora, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, any of them. Just search for Travel and Cruise Industry News, and up pops the fat travel guy. And anytime you are listening to the podcast, if you'd like to hop over to the video feed to check out any pictures or clips or guests that we might have as an interview, you can always go to the description of the podcast, and there'll be a link to the video feed. So you can always hop over to check out from a visual standpoint what we're doing and come back for the podcast. All right, guys, I'll be back with today's news after a quick break from one of our network sponsors. Boy, this is a disturbing story, folks, to lead things off today. The North Sea and the North Atlantic Ocean can be dangerous in November as violent autumn storms regularly pass through the area. One Fred Olsen cruise ship experienced this firsthand this week as the ship got caught in a Force 11 gale. The Balmoral was making her way back to the United Kingdom from Norway when the vessel experienced Force 11 winds. I had to look that up, folks. I wasn't even sure what that meant. And it's a scale, a wind scale that's used primarily in Europe. But a Force 11 wind means 56 to 63 miles an hour. It is classified as a violent storm, exceptionally high waves from 37 to 52 foot waves that form foam patches covering the sea with very limited visibility. Not something one wants to be in. And a sea state of 8, which means waves between 30 to 46 feet. Several cabins were damaged during the storm. Several guests were also injured. The vessel had just concluded a 14-night Northern Lights cruise to Norway, during which she visited the ports of Ålesund, Narvik, Alta, Tromsø, and Molde. While transitioning between Molde and Dover in the UK, the last port of the itinerary before arriving back in Southampton, the cruise ship was caught in a Force 11 storm. Several online videos show the ship moving significantly while waves tower over the ship and wash over the windows. In a statement from Fred Olson, that's the owner of the boat, and this is a quote: "Earlier today, while sailing back from Norway, Balmoral was caught in some exceptional weather conditions in the North Sea. During this time, she encountered some significant waves which led to the damage of a small number of cabins on board. We remain in regular contact with the captain and officers of Balmoral and would like to reassure you that our crew is taking great care of everyone on board." End quote. During the violent storm, several of the cabins were damaged. Several guests reported injuries ranging from sprains to broken bones. One guest suffered significant enough injuries that he was transported to a hospital upon arrival in Dover, in the UK. Balmoral arrived in Dover yesterday about lunchtime. Due to the storm, the vessel arrived much later than scheduled. Fred Olson decided not to sail Balmoral to her home port of Southampton. Instead, the cruise line deployed buses to ferry guests back to Southampton and bring guests on the next cruise over to Dover. Several guests on board the ship were quoted as saying, "What a wonderful job the captain and the crew did." Other guests on board says, "What the hell are we doing in this storm?" I mean, I seem to remember that the cruise lines constantly use the thing that the most important thing is to keep guests and crew safe at all costs. If Fred Olson believes that, what the hell was this ship doing in that kind of storm? I would have some serious questions to the captain and crew, number one, and to Fred Olson. I know just 2 weeks ago, I was in a similar situation on a Carnival ship, which is not the best known for taking care of its passengers and crew. And still, we didn't go anywhere near a storm. We stayed at sea instead. Well, I'm sorry, folks. A storm of that size and strength and that violence? What are you doing taking your ship into that to start with? Wow. I can't believe that that's not avoidable somehow over there of sailing around it. Go to sea for a couple days if you have to, rather than take a chance on your crew and your guests. I mean, somebody from over there in the UK that sails these waters, Dave Monk, for instance, I couldn't get a hold of Dave. I tried. Somebody that sailed these waters more often than I have, that knows what it's like. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, correct me if not. If not, boy, wow, I'd think twice about sailing with Fred Olson. Sorry. Didn't mean to rant. Yeah, I did. That's why I did the show today. I'm sorry, putting your guests at that kind of danger? You got waves breaking over the top of the ship? No. All right, the Carnival celebration. This was pretty cool. After much anticipation, the moment finally arrived. The Carnival celebration is in Miami, ready for inaugural season. Sailing from the world's biggest cruise ship, sister to the Mardi Gras celebration, concluded a 14-day transatlantic cruise from the UK to her new home port. The vessel actually arrived much earlier than expected in the very wee hours of Sunday morning while still dark, due to a guest needing some medical attention ashore. And they sped up the motor a little bit to get in early. The 180,000 gross ton, 5,374 passenger ship made her way into Port Miami, where she docked at her new home, the 471,000 square foot Terminal F. The terminal, upgraded recently at the cost of $170 million, will play host to the naming ceremony later today. The arrival of the Carnival celebration is the culmination of the 50th anniversary celebrations for Carnival Cruise Line, which included exciting activities, special events, new merchandise, and much more during this past year, to the point where some of us were getting really tired of the 50th anniversary celebration. But anyway, it's good that the celebration is in Miami, even if she got there way earlier today than was expected. All right, this is not a good story at all, again, folks. Norwegian Cruise Line, man, they just can't seem to catch a break here lately. Norwegian Cruise Line has confirmed that the third and fourth Prima class ship, already scheduled but not yet under construction, will be delayed due to supply chain issues impacting shipyard delivery schedules. The following means that in mid-August, this follows the news in mid-August that the second ship in the new class, which is the Viva, of course, was going to be delayed, and she had 6 initial sailings canceled. The other 2 ships have not yet begun construction, but will be built at Fincantieri shipyard in Marghera in northeastern Italy, the same shipyard that built Norwegian Prima and is currently building her sister ship, the Viva. This delay reflects the ongoing difficulty that cruise ship construction, as shipyards are suffering from supply chain issues that are impacting construction schedules. And Dennis will give me hell, I just mispronounced Fincantieri. Can't remember exactly how to say that one. Dennis, send me Fincantieri pronunciation again. I know I did it wrong. So I love Dennis. Oh my goodness. Dennis, for those of you who don't know, Dennis is my guy that is constantly assisting me with my horrible pronunciation of especially European words that my tongue doesn't work around. So Dennis is over there in Greece, and honest to goodness, I've gotten so I count on him almost every day for something. Anyway, he's helping me to be better at what I do, so I love it. I really do. All right, the final story this morning, just in time for me to get on board. MSC has dropped all their protocols, removed all vaccination and testing requirements for the vast majority of cruises sailing from the United States. Of course, this follows what Royal Caribbean, Carnival, Norwegian, and others have done recently. So most everybody now has done away with the protocols. MSC Cruises was the first cruise line to resume sailings back in 2020 and did so under strict requirements that set the benchmark literally for the entire industry. So for that, we are most thankful, and it got us going in the right direction. And again, folks, because this was a special edition, I'm not counting a whole lot of people in the chat room, but we do have somebody here. Ken is with us up in Pennsylvania. Kenneth says, that's surprising. Usually they steer around the storms. I know. I'm just thinking, what are they doing? Amy's here. Hi, Amy. Amy, you've sailed a lot. Have you ever been on a cruise ship that deliberately sailed into a storm? I haven't. I've been on several now that have avoided storms. I mean, our storms in this country, we're used to hurricanes, mostly. And that's what, we steer away from. I mean, this looks like very similar conditions to a hurricane. I can't imagine sailing into that. Michael's with us. Hi, Michael. He said good morning as well. Thank you guys for popping in on an unexpected Sunday morning like this. I do appreciate it. And of course, this will be up now for anybody that pops in to check the replay out. And I'll get the podcast up here very shortly. All right, guys, that's going to wrap me up for today. Again, I'll stay on top of anything that goes on in the world of travel and cruise industry and come back if I need to. I will announce that tomorrow morning I'm going to have a special guest, assuming we're going to tape the interview this afternoon because he's currently, I believe, in Portugal. He's been in Greece. He was in Armenia just before that. His name is Tony Giles. He is a blind, 80% deaf traveler, solo traveler who's traveled the world. I am in such awe of Tony and what he's been able to do. I'm really looking forward to chatting with him this afternoon, which will be on tomorrow morning's show. He's an author. He's written several books. I have so many questions for Tony. So looking forward to that. That'll be tomorrow morning, assuming we get a good enough signal for wherever he is in Portugal to tape the interview. I mean, that's still got to work out, but we'll see. All right. That's going to wrap me up for today, guys. Again, I'll be back tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock for Monday Travel and Cruise Industry News Podcast. For now, this is the old fat travel guy. Stay safe, stay healthy. Think about cruising. Hopefully one day soon we'll all get together on the high seas, but not the high seas like that ship sailed into. Later, y'all.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chillie's Cruises.